Hey everybody, welcome to GMG Review. Today we're taking a look at Rise of Angmar for the Middle-earth strategy battle game, which is being accompanied by a whole bunch of Forge World kits and is another period historical supplement for the Middle-earth SBG, which I'm just going to say because it is a mouthful to say those other words otherwise. And these were sent along as complimentary review copies by GW for me to check out and show you guys. And I do believe with the announcement of a new edition of Middle-earth SBG, we are getting, this is probably the last supplement for this line, because I believe Warhammer Community just announced they're doing a new version of the game. But like with all of the Middle-earth stuff, there's not a lot of drift. I've joked in the past that the SBG is the BattleTech of Games Workshop's miniature line, where if you have the first edition rulebooks from this game, you're essentially playing the same game. There's some additional new, like, heroic strikes and heroic actions, and the layout of certain rules like active passive tags and stuff like that is new. But for the most part, this game is relatively, like, the core fundamentals of this game are unchanged since 2001, almost 20 years ago. And this book is no different. So, like, with all these books, I think they're more historical retrospectives on a certain period in the Middle-earth, like, sort of like lore and lexicon. And of course, this is about the rise of Angmar, the Witch King's realm, and the sort of like last king of Minas Tirith and his prideful fall at the hands of the Witch King of Angmar. And sort of appropriate forces of that era, allowing them to do some cool new models, such as Aldrak and Fraked, the heroes of Karn Doom, who are like a clan of mortal men who, after Angmar is founded, it's garrisoned mostly by orcs, and then their tribe is sort of like taken to become the standing army of that area. And growing up in that sort of like harsh northern realm, they turn into Conan barbarians. They turn into like the Thulsa Doom barbarians from the Conan movie. And we get them in great resin, which you'll see painted up in color here, as well as some werewolves, some skinwalkers, which are referenced, of course, in the Middle-earth lexicon and are given rules in here where they're kind of like not cavalry. They can do knockdowns like cavalry can when they charge, and then cavalry can counteract that as well. They're kind of a weird class in between cavalry and not cavalry. New models for Knights of Arnor, which were originally in metal, as well as Arnor commands. You've got Arnath and Agadar for the heroes of Arnor. One's mounted on foot, and then the other one's just on foot. He's a ranger hero. And then Arnor, the last king of Gondor, both mounted and on foot, all in resin, nice Forge World resin, with pre-drilled bases, which I think is very interesting, because I remember those when the Riders of Rohan came out. And then we have our full-color Rise of Angmar book, lovingly illustrated, and of course with I love this picture of the kings from I think it's from Fellowship actually, when they're doing it's Galadriel narrating the entire history of Middle-earth basically in like a go. And you're going to get some legendary legions, so the Battle of Fornos, the army of Arnor, the host of the Witch King, the army of Karn Doom, and the Wolf Pack of Angmar, so like 4 different legendary formations you can play as. And then Arnor, the Rangers, Minas Tirith, Rivendell, Angmar, and Karn Doom get period and new army lists, just including all the new models for the most part. But I didn't notice any difference in the Minas Tirith, Rivendell, and Rangers armies, like core rules wise, except for the inclusion of the new miniatures from here, so that you can play them in a certain period, right? And then you're going to get a huge number of scenarios, which, if you play them chronologically, will show you the founding of Angmar across the Third Age. So, in 3320, the Second Age, Elendil founds the Twin Kingdoms of Gondor and Arnor, and then the death of King Arnor of Arnor and the subsequent division of Arnor into Arthadian, Cardolan, and Rauder, and then all down to the War of the Ring at the end here, with Aragorn reuniting the Kingdom of Gondor and Arnor with him as the king. So scenario-wise, the founding of Angmar, Assault on Rivendell, so they all include different forces, right? So if you have a huge collection of Lord of the Ring miniatures, you could definitely play through all of these. But they're all period sort of like setting things. And this is I think the great strength of the Middle-earth SBG is it's a historical game, right? It's not concerned with balance. You can see these are all asymmetrical deployment zones, attacker defenders, sieges, the defense of Fornoth is a siege, marauding Cardolan, where you've got like an evil deployment area and the good are holed up in the middle there in like a last stand. Unlikely allies, where you have like staggered forces showing up, the Great Plague, where the ghosts and all the haunted ruins happen. There's even a painting article in here on how to do haunted ruins. The Barrow-downs being haunted, the assault on Fornos, another siege mission, the fall of Arnor finally, and the flight to the north. Aid to Fornos is like a small thing, the Battle of Fornos, the fall of Minas Ithil, and the last city of Arnor as he goes through the gates to go and face the Witch King. Because the Witch King basically just goes like, he escapes during the war, and then Arnor is so like beat up about it that he's issued a challenge to come into Angmar to face him, and then just walks in and passes into legend. No one really knows what happens to him, but it's assumed he dies. And you get some campaign rules for playing those things in order. Basically a ladder campaign. And the armies. So redoing Arnor with these new characters, like you get key models like Malbeth, and then it adds Argadir. Aranath, the first chieftain of the Dunedain. So this is like the founder of the Dunedain. Hero of Valor, and he's got some pretty great stats. Fight 5, Strength 4, Defense 5. 2 attacks, only 80 points. But he's got Expert Shot and Hatred Angmar. And he's the chieftain of the Dunedain. If your force includes Aranath, you may include Rangers of the North and Dunedain in your forces if they were from the Arnor army list. We got Argadir, this new captain of Arnor, sorry. He's got Hatred Angmar and Master Battle 5+. Heavy armor, sword and shield, war spear and horse. Defense 7 because he's got that heavy armor. And then new stats for the Knights of Arnor. Right? Fight 4, Strength 3, Defense 6. They're basically warriors or Knights of Gondor, but with war spears. And they have Hatred Angmar because they hate Angmar. And then you get a battle company, which I love because I do actually have this battle company. I have an Arnor battle company, all in metal, just like this. You get 5 warriors and 2 rangers to start off with. And then, yeah, if you recruit, you can get a Hobbit Archer, Rangers of Arnor with spears, Rangers of Arnor, and Warriors of Arnor. I love that you get hobbits in there, though. And then the Rangers, Arathorn, Aragorn, Rangers of the North, and Haldibrad. Minas Tirith with Arnor, the last king of Gondor. So he's 100 points. Defense 7, he's a super Gondor hero, but he's only got 1 fate because he dies. He's basically like the Boromir of his time, right? Except not 0 fate. But he's a master duelist. Rivendell, Angmar, because these are all the protagonists of this campaign. The Witch King. Nazthak, an orc captain. He's like an assassin. And he can scavenge. Whenever Nazthak kills an enemy model in combat, with the exception of monsters, he may choose to scavenge a single piece of war gear carried by that model, with the exception of a mount, another type of armor, a living creature, the one ring, or items of war gear within it that are integral to the model, like teeth and claws. This will happen before any effect that allows the slain model to pass on that piece of war gear. Add the scavenged item to Nazthak's list, and he'll benefit from the scavenged war gear as if he was the original model. The Shadow of Rudar. He's the Spirit of Angmar, the hero of fortitude, Blades of the Dead, and Terror. He's basically one of the, he's like an evil version of the Spirit Host. Herald of Doom. At the start of the game, select 1 hero model in your opponent's fist. While the Shadow of Rudar is within 6 of that fated hero. That hero suffers -1 penalty to their fate rolls and -1 to their courage values. And he's got the Power of Angmar. He's a sorcerer with Drain Courage, Curse, Wither, and Sap Will. Hill Trolls, I love these. Baby trolls, and if they're led by Birder, they become, like, better. So they're Troll, Angmar, Monster, Infantry, Warrior. They're 6/6 trolls, but they got swords, which means they can do the sword attacks. Terror, Throw Stones, range 12, strength 8. And they're Pathfinders. Pick a piece of terrain that's not on the board, and it's not difficult because the Hill Trolls have scouted it. And then Hill Troll Intelligence. Hill Troll may reroll a single d6 in a duel when fighting solely against infantry, but not monsters. If your force includes Barter, he will also gain this special roll for the duration of the game, because they're slightly smarter than other trolls. And then rules for werewolves. They're spirits, Angmar, infantry, and warriors. They get claws and teeth. Strength 5, defense 4, 2 wounds, 2 attacks. Courage 5, fight 5, movement 10. These guys are terrifying for 25 points. And Feral Charge allows them to knock down infantry as if they were cavalry, unless they're also charged by a cavalry model. They got Felsight and Terror. I love the werewolves. They're giant, though. They're on 50 mil bases. For 25 points, they're super cheap for what they do. And then new rules for the Shades. The Shade model. This is a classic miniature. 75 points. 2 wounds, defense 8. So they're kind of like baby ring wraiths with 4 will. Conduit of Angmar. If an Angmar ring wraith model is within 6 of a Shade, they can use the Shade to determine line of sight and casting of magical power. Additionally, when making a casting roll within 6 of a Shade, an Angmar ring wraith can choose to deal a single wound to the Shade to add 1 to their casting roll. They're like little batteries for 75 points. And then Swirling Mist. At the start of the shoot phase, when heroic actions are declared, a Shade may expend a will point to activate this ability. For the remainder of the turn, enemy models will suffer a -1 to hit roll when making a shooting attack that targets a friendly model within 6 of the Shade. And if they're within enemy models shooting more than 12 away, they'll suffer a -2 to hit instead. Friendly Angmar models within 12 of 1 or more models with this special roll, add 1 to their courage value. Because the orcs are like, you guys are cool. And this replaces the armies in the Lord of the Rings thing, so it's new stats for them. And then a battle company for Angmar. Karn Doom, so they don't get an army list, but you do get the stats for Aldrak, Fraked, Warriors of Karn Doom, and the Angmar War Riders. So he's a big boy. He's like a super orc, Aldrak, Warlord of Karn Doom for 120 points. But he's fated to die, right? So he's Might 3, Will 3, and then Fate 3. Defense 6, Strength 5, Fight 5, 3 wounds, 3 attacks, Heroic Strike and Heroic Strength. And he's got a Mace, Shield, and Armor. He's a Warlord, so you can reroll failed Courage checks if your Karn Doom models within 6 of him. And Battle Frenzy, if Aldrak kills an enemy model in combat, then he may declare Heroic Combat during the following turn without spending Might. Because he's just excited, he's got Mighty Blow as well. And then Fraked, he's basically your wizard. He's got Incantation of Strength. Friendly Karn Doom models within 3 of Fraked must reroll 1s to wound, making strikes. Incantation of Endurance. Whenever a friendly Karn Doom model within 3 of Fraked suffers a wound, on a 5+, it's ignored. And Incantation of Swiftness. Models, friendly models with that strength remove within 3 will not be slowed by difficult terrain except water. And it's during the priority phase, you can spend a will to use an incantation. No roll, just happens until the end phase. He's just good like that. And he's got 4 will, so you can do it 4 turns. 1 Might, 1 Fate. He's got a dagger, armor, and staff. He's defense 5. And then your warriors, they're kind of like human Urukai. So like fight 4, strength 4, defense 6, 2 attacks and 2 wounds. So the 2 wounds is pretty cool, and the 2 attacks is also pretty cool. They got armor, shields, and maces. They can shield for 3 attack dice when they shield. These are the hero ones. Might 2, Will 1, Fate 1. So there's your captain. And the basic guys are going to be 1 wound, defense 5 instead of 6, armor, shield, mace, fight 3, and then strength 4. Courage 3, though. Everybody's kind of freighty. Going to have a banner or a spear. And then they have Glory Seekers of a model in combat with an enemy hero model, though not if they are supporting. When this model gets +1 to wound that hero and making strikes. So everybody's +1 wounding its heroes, because they like to kill heroes. And the miniatures are super cool. They got a real, like I said, like Thulsa Doom's warriors from, from Conan. And then you can take them as a battle company with 2 warriors of Karn Doom, 2 with spears, and then 2 Angmar orcs with bows. And then your legendary legions. So these are like, they can't ally. You don't get an army, but you just get this. This is what you get. So the Battle of Fornost would be playing in that scenario. You're going to get access to Arnor, Glorfindel, Círdan, Aernath, First Chieftain of the Dunedain, Captain Minas Tirith, High Elf Captain, Ranger of the North. It's like a mixed humans and elves, Last Alliance kind of thing. Dunedain, Rangers of Arnor, Warriors of Minas Tirith, Knights of Minas Tirith, High Elf Warriors, and Hobbit Archers. I get Ernor's Defiance. Ernor cannot have his courage value reduced by enemy models or magical powers. Power of the Elves. Friendly models gain resistance to magic everywhere because the elves are protecting them. And the Charge of Gondor. Friendly Gondor cavalries get +1 fight in a turn in which they charge. And the Army of Arnor, which gives you Arvedui, Aernath, Malbeth the Seer, Argadir, Captain of Arnor, Rangers, Dunedain, Warriors of Arnor, Knights of Arnor, and Rangers of Arnor. So just mixing that all together. And you get Protect the King. You automatically pass courage when you're within 6 of Arvedui, I don't know. Power of the Seer. Friendly Arnor hero models get +1 when rolling for Malbeth's Gifts of Foresight rule, and then Foresight of the Eldar. Before the game begins, roll a d6 and make a note of the result. These are Malbeth's Foresight points for the battle. During the priority phase, after the dice have been rolled, so long as he's alive in the battlefield, Malbeth may choose to expend these to alter the controlling player's dice roll, plus or minus. And then the Host of the Witch King. It mixes all of these again. So you get the Tainted, the Witch King, and the Dwemer Lake, the Shadow of Rudar, which is one of the Shades, and then Narthak Orc Captain, Shades, Barrow-wights, Angmar Orc Captains, Angmar Orc Shamans, Angmar Orc Warriors, Warg Riders, and the Dead Marsh Spectres. It's all the ghosts that live in Angmar. If that fell kingdom should rise again, Rivendell, Lorien, and the Shire, and even Gondor itself shall fall. Friendly Angmar Orc models within 6 of a friendly spirit hero gain terror. So all your Angmar Orcs have terror if they're within 6 of your heroes. That's insane. Dark Sorceries, friendly Ringwraith models can reroll a single d6 making a casting resist test. Lord of the Nazgul. The Witch King increases attacks characteristic to 3, and additionally, the Witch King only loses a point of will when having been in a fight if he loses. And No Man Can Kill Me. The Witch King gains a bonus of +1 to his fight value when engaged with an enemy man model. And you get the Army of Karn Dûn. So you get Aldrak, Fraked, Captains of Karn Dûn, Angmar Orc Captains, Warriors of Karn Dûn, Angmar Orc Warriors, Angmar Warg Riders, and Org Trackers. And you get Show of Strength. If a Karn Dûn hero kills 1 or more enemy models in combat, then the duration of the following turn, they get +1 to their fight value. The banner range is increased to 6 inches, and Words of Power, your incantations go up to 6 inches as well on your Fraked. And then finally, the Wolf Pack of Angmar. It's just all werewolves. You get to see the 2 werewolf miniatures, the 2 sculpts, and then War Chieftains. Wild Warg Chieftain, sorry, werewolves, fell wargs, and wild wargs. So it's just all wolves. You get the leader of the pack. The Wild Wolf Chieftain, that is the leader, gains an additional point of each might, will, and fate, and they're treated as a hero of valor. Howl of the Wolf Pack, once per game at the start of any fight phase, the Wild Warg Chieftain that's your leader can declare they're using this ability. Until the end of the turn, friendly models from the Legendary Legion get a bonus of +1 fight and can reroll ones when rolling to wound. And then Protect the Alpha. If the Wild Warg Chieftain that's your leader suffers a wound, friendly models within 6 of them are counted as being in range of a banner. And Feral Charge. When a friendly warg model charges an enemy infantry model, they gain the knock to the ground bonus as if they were cavalry, but the bonus is lost if they are subsequently charged by cavalry too. So basically they all get the rule that the werewolves have as part of that army. And then we get some nice hobby stuff. So how to paint your ruins to look ghostly, which is pretty cool. How to paint them in general. And then an appendix of like timelines and additional fun scenarios. Arathorn's Last Stand. So Arathorn and Haldibrad basically having their last stand as the Rangers of the Dunedain. Birder's Horde. So you get Birder the Troll Chieftain. Great classic miniature. And then all the new minis. And that's it. So probably the last supplement for this edition of the Middle-earth SBG. And a pretty good send-off. I like that it's like a classic historical period. It sheds some light into like that classic time. And the armies are pretty unique. It's not stuff you typically see. It wasn't in the films, right? Except for like in minor flashbacks every now and again. So having that kind of like period piece, it's just what the SBG fans want. They love this stuff. I know my buddy Shane will be super excited about this book. And in general, I think this is the kind of thing that Lord of the Rings fans want. And I like that Workshop just keeps producing that for them. Like, this is one of those IPs that has a very old, long, dedicated fan base. And they haven't really messed with the formula of how and what they make for them. So I think this is a good send-off to the edition. I'm excited to see what the new edition is going to entail. I'm sure all this stuff will be compatible in some way, shape, or form. And honestly, even if it's not like intentionally compatible, it's going to be compatible because the rules for this game don't change that awful much. Like, you can pretty much use all the old supplements, and with a few exceptions, you can guess what's a hero value. You know what I mean? Like, if there's a terminology that's not there, you can just kind of fudge it and you'll be fine because the core stats haven't changed at all since the first edition. And the gameplay hasn't changed at all either. So there you go. The Rise of Angmar. Big thanks for Workshop sending the book and the models. And for you guys for watching. Until next time, I'm Ash. Happy wargaming.